Shalom. First and foremost, I to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rakakadash. My respect to you, Akim and Agwakim, pushing the work of the Lord in true grace and sincerity, and promoting your body as a living sacrifice. So today in this edification, we're basically going to go over, and it's about, the ego demon, man. The ego demon, because it's a spirit, a demon that can ultimately hop on, brothers, and ultimately, make brothers, prideful, and that pride ultimately is what leads, certain people out the truth, man. We clearly see in Israel, currently, present time, that we see a lot of people falling out, due to their pride, and them being very egotistic, man. When you're doing the work of the Lord, man, you should do it in humility, man. You should not think that you're better than Yahushua, man. There's camps out there, that teach that, Yahushua doesn't matter and that they're above Yahushua. They call themselves chief priests, and all that, man. And they basically exalt themselves, man. But in the truth, as the Lord tells us, man, we're supposed to be humble, man. We're as dirty rags, man. You can't be out here, having an ego, man. You can't be having an ego in this thing, man. And that demon, you have to continue to rebuke it, man. Always, man. Because ultimately, man, pride is what leads to your downfall, man. In any craft in life, man, you can see that, people who have the most pride, they end up falling off, man. People who think they are something that they aren't, instead of using their ego, for positivity, meaning that, alter, there's things called the alter ego, man. But ultimately use that ego, for positivity, for when things are supposed to be done. But these people, they're in their heads too much, and they ultimately, breathe, negativity and just corruption and sin, man. And ultimately, being, egotistic, and pretending that, you are above, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, thinking that you're above Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, thinking that you're something that you aren't, man. That's not a good state of mind to be in, man. Because we've seen, various, people in the ancient days, fall off due to their pride, man. We've seen Pharaoh, the Lord hardened his heart, so ultimately he could fall, man. You seen what happened at the house of Saul, there's so much examples, man, in the scriptures, people who had a very high ego, and then ultimately, basically, they fell, man, they perished, with their, ego, man. So to me, man, you gotta be humble in this thing, man, and you gotta continue to rebuke this demon, man, because this demon's going upon, the earth, man. So you gotta continue to rebuke this demon, thinking that you're something that you're not, man. Stay in your place, man. And especially it's the people, who first come into this truth, man. You just came to this truth, man. You just learned a couple scriptures, and you think you're on top of the world, man. No, man, it's a process, man. You gotta take your time, and ultimately you gotta be born again, man. Meaning if you're born again and you've been in this truth for 2 years, you're a 2-year-old baby, man. A 2-year-old baby cannot tell, a 30-year-old man what to do, man, because the 2-year-old baby doesn't have knowledge, man. Metaphorically speaking, you gotta be reborn again, man. Meaning that you gotta learn everything and ultimately rewire your brain, man, and ultimately be humble, man, and ultimately receive correction and instruction, man. And now, let's go to the scriptures. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach, chapter 1, starting at the 29th verse. This book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 1, starting at the 29th verse, and it reads, "Be not a hypocrite in the sight of men, and take good heed what thou speakest," man. So ultimately, man, you cannot be a hypocrite in the sight of men. You gotta act accordingly, man. You can't tell a brother, what to do, and you're not doing it, man. You can't tell a brother something and you're not doing it, man. That's where the ego comes, man. When you're egotistic, you tend to become hypocritical, man. And it's ultimately, not good to be a hypocrite according to the scriptures, man. You know, so ultimately, do not be a hypocrite in the sight of men. If you telling someone to do something, if you calling yourself the chief priest, you calling yourself, all these names, all trying to receive validation from people, and you trying to correct people, you got to make sure, man, you know what you're talking about, man. You got to make sure you're studied, to show that self-approved, man. And take good heed what those speakers saying. So you can't be out here, bearing, false witness, saying, out of pocket shit, man. You have to take, good heed what thou speakest, man, because ultimately, there's life and death, in the tongue, man. Meaning that, whatever you say, will either lead to death or you surviving, man. So you have to be careful what you say, man. In verse 30, exalt not thyself, lest thou fall, and bring dishonor upon thy soul, man. So ultimately, you're not supposed to, exalt yourself, man. Lest thou fall, man. And bring dishonor upon thy soul. Because when you exalt yourself and you try to think that you're something that you're not, or you just because, you received a couple dreams, and the Lord showed you a couple dreams, you see in a chair, you think you better than other brothers, man. You think you better than other brothers just because, so you learned this in a shorter amount of time, man. You learned the truth in a short amount of time. That doesn't make you better than any other brother, man. You gotta be humble, man. Especially you brothers that come in the truth. This is a warning, man. If you guys are not humble, the Lord will deal with you, man. And the Lord will ultimately have vengeance upon you and suddenly destroy you niggas, man. Because y'all gotta be humble, man. A rookie cannot tell a vet, ultimately what he's supposed to do if the rookie that hasn't even had experience yet, man. So ultimately you new guys, man. I'm a young brother myself in this truth, man. So ultimately, man, we gotta be humble, man. Us young brothers, we gotta be humble. Ultimately, receive instruction, man. So ultimately, you're not supposed to exalt thyself, man. Because ultimately, man, that's gonna bring dishonor upon your soul, man. And continue on the verse. And so Yahweh discovered thy secrets. So God, discovered your secrets, man. And cast thee down in the midst of the congregation, because thou comest not in truth to fear of the Lord, but thy heart is full of deceit, man. So ultimately, man, when you exalt yourself, man, you call yourself all these type of names, and you ultimately think you're better than something that you are, the Lord's ultimately going to discover your secrets, man. He's going to discover your iniquity, the things that you were doing behind closed doors, all those wicked acts. The Lord is ultimately going to discover thy secrets, and ultimately you will be cast down in the midst of the congregation, meaning that brothers will find out about the wickedness you've committed behind closed doors, man. The Lord is going to put the spirit on brothers to ultimately find out, man. And ultimately us brothers, man, the Lord has given us the spirit of discernment, man, so we can tell, if something's off, man. We can tell if you bugging out, man. And the reason why the Lord's going to discover your secrets and ultimately expose you, to the congregation is ultimately because, you did not come in truth, faith and sincerity, man, or the fear of the Lord, man. Your heart, was not, pure, man, but your heart was full of deceit, man. So ultimately, if your heart is full of deceit, man, the Lord is going to expose you, man. And we see a lot of, people, that were in this truth falling out, going into vain ideology, going into these, bugged out doctrines, man, and ultimately, these corrupt, these corrupt mindsets, these corrupt teachings, and ultimately wicked philosophy, man. So ultimately, man, do not exalt yourselves, man. Do not exalt yourself, because ultimately that's going to bring dishonor upon your soul, man. And ultimately the Lord is going to discover your iniquity, man. You think you are all big and all, man. You act like, you don't, go through the same things as us, man. You think, the Lord's just dealing with you separately, man. No, that's not how it works, man. That's not how it works, man. Who are you to think that the Lord is dealing with you, only you, man? Only you. You know, that doesn't make sense. You know? So ultimately, man, you know, the Lord's gonna expose, you know, your iniquity, man, if you think, you know, you're the new sheriff in town, man. You know, you think you're the big boss. You will ultimately be humbled, man. And the Lord will put the spirit, you know, on brothers, you know, to ultimately expose you, man, and ultimately humble you with the scripts, man. You know, and rebuke you, man. You know, and now, let's go to the book of Romans, chapter 12. Romans 12 and 16. Romans 12 and 16, and it reads, be of the same mind one toward another. You know, so ultimately, man, you know, you're supposed to be of the same mind one toward another, man. So ultimately, you're supposed to be on one accord, man, with the ministry, with the brothers, man. You know, you're supposed to all have the same mindset, all in the same doctrine, man. And continue on the verse. Mind not high things. You know, so the Lord says, you know, mind not high things, man. And one thing too is that, you know, what makes people fall off the truth, you know, ultimately fall out, you know, the doctrine of Yahweh Shemel Shai, is that they try to dig too deep, man. They try to go into deep things already, man. You know, you barely even know any of the breakdowns of the regular Bible, you know, KJV Bible, and you trying to go into the book of Enoch, you know, the book of Melchizedek and all these, you know, the book of the Jubilees, you know, all these, you know, wicked books, or the book of Mormon, you know, you reading these bug out books, you know, because you're trying to go too deep, man. You know, you're not supposed to go too deep in this thing, man. You know, they say, you know, slow and steady wins the race, man. You're supposed to be patient. You know, you're supposed to be patient. The Lord is ultimately going to reveal what's needed for you to reveal, man, to be revealed to you, man. So do not go in these, don't try to go too deep, man. You know, because ultimately that's going to lead to your downfall, man. And continue on the verse, but condensed to men of low estate, man. Be not wise in your own conceits, man. So ultimately, when you go into these high things, you try to go deep, man. That condenses, you know, that turns you into a low estate, man. You know, because you're trying to take too much at one time, man. You could kill yourself, man. If you try to eat, you know, fucking, you know, 100 burgers at once, you try to drink the whole ocean of water, man, you're gonna kill yourself, man. So ultimately, yo, take your time in this truth, man. Do not try to go in these high things, man. You know, it's not meant for you, man. Some brothers, it's not meant for some brothers, you know, to know all the deep breakdowns, man. You know, so ultimately, man, you do not try to go into high things, man. Don't try to be, you know, Mr. Know-It-All, man. You know, be humble, man. You know, accept your role. You know, brothers got different roles, man. So don't try to gain these high things, man. You know, you got to drink the milk before you got to chew the meat before you can eat the whole bone, man. You know, you got to learn how to walk before you can run. You know, so ultimately, man, you know, if you try to go into the high things, you know, try to be so deep, you know, you're just going to be turned into a lower state, man. And ultimately, you know, do not be wise in your own conceits, man. You know, don't be wise in that, man. In verse 17, recompense to no man evil for evil. You know, so ultimately, man, you're not supposed to recompense to no man evil, man. And ultimately, certain brothers, they have egos. Like, oh, this dude did me dirty, I'm gonna do him dirty. You know, you see, you know, camps out here, you know, IUIC, you know, and all these camps, you know, basically trying to fight, man. Being niggas, man. You know, talking about, oh, what you trying to do? What you trying to do? You know, trying to fight niggas, you know, and shit, man. You know, you're not supposed to recompense to no man evil for evil. Because ultimately, you know, vengeance is the Lord's, man. You know? Because ultimately, man, two wrongs don't make a right. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. So ultimately, you're supposed to be, you know, honest in the sight of all men. So if a brother, you know, is irritating you, man, or, you know, you and a brother, you know, is not, if you don't feel the energy, you know, so the brother is right against you, man, then, you know, you go to that brother and, you know, you resolve your situation, man. You know, you basically, you know, brainstorm ideas, you know, to make the relationship good, man. You're not supposed to have that nigga mentality, you know, if this dude did me dirty, I'm gonna do even 10 times dirty. No, man. You're supposed to ultimately resolve problems, man, with your brothers, man. You know? In verse 18, if it be possible, as much as liveth in you, you know, live peaceably with all men, man. So ultimately, man, if it is possible, because ultimately it's a time and place for everything. But, you know, majority of the time, man, you gotta be, you know, peace, you know, you gotta be peaceful among all men, man. You know? So ultimately, you know, if you have a problem situation with a brother, you know, you guys work things out. You know, if the brother don't listen, if the brother, you know, continues to be ignorant, then, you know, leave him alone, man. You know, if any man be ignorant, let him be ignorant. So, but ultimately, man, you got to be patient, you know. You got to be long-suffering, you know, when it comes to your brothers, man. You know, and ultimately, you got to live peaceably with all men, you know. You're not supposed to reward evil with evil, man, as scriptures have said, man. You know? And now, let's go to the book of 1 Peter, chapter 5, and starting at the 5th verse. And it reads, likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. You know, so ultimately, ye younger, meaning, you know, it doesn't only mean, you know, like younger, you know, physically you being young. You know, spiritually, this is talking about, you know, both ways, both concepts, you know, spiritually and physically, man. You know, white lights, younger, you know, spiritually, meaning that you brothers, you know, who just came to this faith, you know, you young brothers, you know, you're in this truth, you know, 1 to 5 years, you know, you're still young in this faith, man. You know, submit yourselves unto the elder, man. So ultimately, man, you know, you gotta put all your pride aside, man, and ultimately humble down and listen to the elders, man. Because we see a lot of brothers, you know, they fall out the truth because ultimately they're envious of the elders, man. You know, they're envious of the man of the Lord, man. And that's ultimately a Pharisee spirit, man. You know, a wicked Pharisee. The Pharisees, you know, they hated Yahushua, man. You know, they were envious of Yahushua. They was like, who is you, man? Who is you? How you the man? How you the son of God, man? You know? How are you the Messiah, you know? Why can't I be the Messiah? Yeah, so basically, man, you know, they were egotistic back then, and there's nothing new under the sun. You see a lot of, you know, brothers, you know, they're not our brothers, man. You know, our brothers are the ones who do the will of Yahweh Bashim El Shai, man. You know, but, you know, we see, you know, these cats out here, you know, basically, you know, bearing false witness on the elders, you know, saying the elders, you know, do wickedness. You know, basically, you know, just speaking folly, man. Because ultimately, they don't have any sort of humility, man. And you got to be humble enough to submit yourselves unto the elders, man. Because ultimately, the Lord is dealing with these brothers, man. You know, they've been in this faith, man, longer than you were damn born, man. So you got to shut up, man. You got to shut up and listen, you know. Brother, the elder's been in truth 35 plus years, man. You know. And continue on the verse. Yeah, all you be subject one to another, you know, and be clothed with humility. You know, so you have to be clothed with humility, man. You know, you got to be humble in this thing. For God resisteth the proud and giveth grace to the humble, man. So ultimately, man, you know, ultimately, God, you know, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, you know, he resisteth the proud, man. You know, we see the Lord do that to many of, you know, the guys in the ancient days, man. You know, who are prideful, man. You know, what happened to these kings? You know, that wanted to kill the prophets, man. You know, what happened to the house of Saul? You know, what happened to Pharaoh when the Lord, you know, hardened his heart? You know, what happened to Goliath, man? You know, all these examples, man. You know, what happened to Jezebel, man? You know, so, you know, God ultimately is going to resist the proud, man. You know, and give grace to the humble. So ultimately, if you're humble, and man, you know, God's going to bless you. The scriptures have said, you know, the meek shall inherit the earth, man. You know, I was trying to, you know, help this brother out and correct this brother because he was going off. You know, he was basically trying to say you know, that the elders, you know, are going off, you know, and the elders, you know, the Lord's not dealing with the elders. And he said that, I said, you got to be humble, right? You know what he told me? He said that being humble is stupid, man. You know, so this is a sign, man, that brother's not going to make it. Because ultimately the Lord in the scripture says the meek shall inherit the earth. And you go into the word meek, that means humble, man. So ultimately the grace, you know, from the Lord will be given to the humble, man. You know, the meek. At verse 6, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, man. So ultimately, we gotta humble ourselves, you know, under the mighty hand of Yahweh Bashim El Shai. So ultimately, he can, you know, exalt us in due time, and ultimately we can reap, you know, the rewards, you know, of laboring in this thing and actually being humble, man. You know. So ultimately, man, you gotta be humble, bro. You gotta be humble. You gotta cast off all pride, man, because pride is just gonna lead to death, man. And I'm gonna go show an example, you know, of our forefather Paul, man. He was a very humble man. You know, he's a prime example, you know, of being humble, man. And this is Paul speaking. This book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 9. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 9, and it reads, "For I am the least of the apostles, that am not to meet to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of Yahweh." You know, so to me, you know, Paul, you know, he was humble enough to say, I am the least of the apostles, man. He said, I'm the least. You know, he says that I'm not even meant to be called an apostle, man. You know, because I persecuted the church of Yahweh, man. So ultimately, you know, obviously he wasn't in that woe is me spirit saying, well, I'm not worthy enough and shit like that, you know. No, he wasn't having that woe is me spirit, but ultimately he was showing his humility, man. You know, showing basically, you know, he's being humble, man, in the right way. You know, he's not out here, you know, Paul wasn't out here, you know, trying to, you know, boast himself, you know, and trying to say he's bigger than what he is, man. And Paul was a man of the Lord, man. You know, the Lord was actually dealing with Paul, man. You know, Paul is one of the greatest prophets, man, and he was humble enough to say, I am the least, man. I am the least of the apostles, man. So if a man of the Lord is saying it being humble, you got to be humble too, man. You know, in verse 10, but by the grace of God, I am what I am. So ultimately, you know, Paul said, you know, by the grace of God, he is what he is, man. You know, because ultimately, man, we're as filthy rags, man. You know, we're just a vessel to ultimately get the work of the Lord done, man. You know, we ain't nothing, man. We flesh, man. We're corruptible. You know, we're in flesh, man. You know, we ain't shit. You know? So ultimately, Paul is saying, you know, I am what I am due to the grace of Yahweh Bashim El Shai, man. Meaning that, you know, it's not of himself, man. It's all through the glory of God that he was doing the work, man. And continue on the verse. And his grace, which was bestowed upon me, was not in vain. But I labored more abundantly than they all. Yet but the grace of God, which was with me, man. So ultimately, Paul basically saying, you know, the grace, you know, which was bestowed upon him, you know, it was not in vain, meaning that it wasn't by accident. The Lord has predestinated us since the beginning to ultimately receive this truth. But, you know, even Paul, you know, he labored more abundantly than all, man. He was a man of the Lord, man. He put in the work for Yahweh Bashim El Shai, man. You know how much books he wrote, you know, in the Bible, man, Paul, you know. Yet not, but the grace of God, which is with me. So ultimately, all this work, you know, is by Yahweh Bashim El Shai. It's through the spirit of Yahweh Bashim El Shai, man. We're not doing these things for, you know, for ourselves, man. We're doing it for the grace of Yahweh Bashim El Shai, because ultimately he blessed us with this, man. You know, we didn't just wake up one day, you know, and learn this truth by ourselves. No, the spirit of the Lord had to hop on us to ultimately wake us up from the zombified state that we were in, man. In verse 11, therefore, whether it were I or they, so we preach, so ye believe, man. So ultimately, you know, he's basically showing that, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we're on one accord, man. You know, there's no I in team. You know, so you can't be just thinking that you can do this all by yourself, man. doing the work all by yourself. No, there's brothers, who are here to help you, man. Yahushua had disciples. He had brothers that helped him. So ultimately, don't try to be like, have that spirit, fuck all you niggas, man. I'm doing this by myself. No, that's not the right way to go. That's how you ultimately perish and fall off, man. So ultimately, Paul is basically saying, this is all a group thing, man. It's not just me doing the work. This is my whole group, man. Basically, he's giving credit to the other disciples, and the other men of the Lord, man. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not just one brother that teaches, There's brothers all over the world, who's teaching the true doctrine of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we're on one accord, man. And ultimately, since us, being on one accord, in the doctrine of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, people are starting to believe, in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. So we're leading that, humble, example, so people can ultimately learn the truth of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua and true faith sincerity, man. And now, let's go to the book of James, chapter 4 and verse 10, to close it out. This book of James, chapter 4 and verse 10, and it reads, humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up, man. So ultimately, we got to humble ourselves, in the sight of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, so ultimately he can bless us with the rewards, man, and ultimately bless us with salvation. In verse 11, and it reads, speak not evil one of another, brethren. So ultimately, you're not supposed to speak evil of your brothers, man. You're not supposed to bear false witness, man. Continue on in the verse. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law and judgeth the law. So ultimately, if you speaking evil of your brother, and you bearing false witness, you judge your brothers, and all that. You speak evil of the law, man. You claim, you keep the law. Well, I keep the law. I do this and I do that. But you're bearing false witness on your brother, man. And if you hate your brother, when you bear false witness on your brother, that means you hate them, man. And he that hateth his brother is a murderer, man. That's one of the biggest sins you could ever commit, man. And continue on the verse. But if thou judge the law, and thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge, man. So ultimately, man, you trying to judge the brothers though they're not doing the law, but you're not even keeping the law to yourself, man. You prophesying with a fitted hat on. You got lineups, man. You got long ass hair like a female. You're not speaking in the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. You're not using the true names. You prophesying in the ski mask. Looking like a nigga in the world. Using this truth for people to buy merchandise off you, using this truth, to become rappers, and you trying to tell, brothers to keep the 100% law, and you're not even doing the law, man. You're nothing but a judge, man. You're not supposed to judge, your brother, in vain, man. So ultimately, man, cast all the pride, aside, man, and ultimately be humble in this thing, man. And speak not evil of your brother, man. So with that, Lord willing, we for all to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, Bashim Karkadash. Continue to rebuke the ego demon, stay humble in this thing, because ultimately pride leads to death, man. Pride, is what leads to your downfall, man. So Shalom Amakim, stay up.